Hello and welcome to this new edition of the Foojay Podcast for the next stop of our virtual JUG World Tour in Japan.
Welcome to the Foojay Podcast, all your news about OpenJDK.
Last month we were in the US, and from my point of view, we travel today to the other side of the world as we speak with the organizers of the Japan JUG.
Hi everyone, I'm Ayana Yokota, one of organizers of JJUG and Javajo, which are JUGs in Japan. I am a software developer at JFrog. Actually, currently I don't use Java so much, but I like Java, and my first programming language was Java, so I'm into organizing Java communities and enjoying spending time with people from our communities. Today, I'm looking forward to talking and introducing our communities to all over the world. So yeah, please enjoy our stories.
My name is Maaya. I work at Microsoft Japan. So my job role is Azure specialist for developers and Azure parts. And so specialist means pre-sales, Azure pre-sales. So I joined JJUG and Japan Women User Groups from 6 or 7 years ago. I can speak not well, but please bear with me. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Shin Tanimoto. I'm a leader or representative of Japan Java User Group, aka JJUG. I started my career from 2004 and have been a Java software developer for around 20 years. I have written a book on Java for beginners and articles for several magazines. And I am a frequent speaker at Japan domestic events or international events, including Java 1 and Spring 1. As for open source projects, there used to be an open source community in Japan called the CISA project. I was a committer of the JS product there. I hope we can have a nice podcast today.
Okay, thanks a lot for joining. I'm Frank Delporte. I'm a Java developer and technical writer, and I'm making these Foojay podcasts where we visit JUGs around the world, JUGs being Java user groups. And actually we have two now today in the podcast, as we have the Japan Java user group, but also the women group, so that's really great. Can you tell me how long these JUGs exist?
And Japan Java User Group was founded in 2007, so it continues for 14 or 15 years. It was started by Fujio Maruyama, who was very passionate about Java at that time, and was founded with the goal of creating a community for the Java community that supports other JUGs around Japan. At that time in Japan, there was an open source project called CISA project, and its community was a major force in Japan. The CISA framework had the same functionality as Spring framework, and was the de facto standard for Java developers in Japan at that time. Like the CISA communities and Spring user group and local JUGs were starting up at that time, and JJUG tried to play a role in bringing the communities together. It is hard to say if this goal was a success or a failure, but JJUG continues to support Java user groups around Japan and like dispatching Java speakers to the local JUGs.
So actually, Japan user group is really for the whole country, and you are helping other groups, local groups, to organize other events.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is really great.
Java user groups, for the Java groups, by the Java groups, to the Java groups.
Yeah, and working together is really what is driving the different JUGs forward. So yeah, you're existing already a long time. Does the same go for the woman Java user group?
It was founded in 2014, so about 9 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we're actually surprised. It's long enough.
That's very strange. That's the third time in this podcast series that people are surprised how long the JUG exists. So we found out in the Manchester JUG that they have to celebrate the birthday, the 10th birthday, I think it was. And in Denver, it was the 20th. So yeah, these JUGs really exist for a long time. It's really great that these communities keep existing and keep having events. Can you tell me why you are involved in this JUG? What is your goal of being an organizer of these JUGs?
A women Java community was created to encourage female developers who were worried about being in the regular Java communities, as there are more men. Yeah, that's why we started that community. And I was one of founders. Actually, the person who came up with the idea was different. That's not me, but I've been organizing this community from it was created.
What I know from Europe is that the amount of female engineers is really low. So 10% maybe in a team. We see that this really stems from the education, where we have not a lot of girls choosing for an engineering role or education. Is this different in Japan? Is there a bigger female group who is studying software engineering and who is taking up a role in this job?
That's not different. Same similar situation happening in Japan as well. And also, yeah, as far as I searched, and actually 5 years ago, to have a presentation about our community at Java 1, the rate of women in Japan was even worse than the US. We have less women in our industry. So I think what women feel and experience is similar globally.
Do you think that this woman Java user group has an impact on the popularity of being a programmer?
I don't know how we affect impact on the Japan tech industry, but maybe our activities could be keep motivation for already engineers or students. For example, the women user group in Japan, such as Python, Java, and Ruby, often communicate between user groups. Sometimes we organize joint event. So in point of view about create various types network, it's very effective. But I don't know how we affect impact in Japan.
Maaya organizes a couple of women communities. So yeah, she knows not only situation in Java community, but also other languages and technologies. So yeah, what she says is, I think, very real.
That's actually what I've seen with the other JUGs, that the organizers are really community people. It's not that they are Java community people, they're really community people and organizing Java events, but also other events. And then taking your experience of organizing one event to another is really great. With those Java groups, how many of these events do you have? Is that a monthly thing or just whenever you have a speaker available?
In case of Javajo, Javajo is a Java women's group. There's a meetup 3 times or 4 times a year. We organize the hackathon events called Ponshiki. Ponshiki means a team's development event. So it's a kind of hackathon. We develop a website for using the Spring Boot.
The JJUG holds monthly night seminar event and a large biannual event, the JJUG Cross Community Conference, aka JJUG CCC. JJUG CCC is a one-day event with 3 or 4 tracks and 8 sessions, so up to 30 sessions in a day.
These events, do they mostly have local speakers, Japanese speakers, or do you really have speakers traveling in?
Most of the speakers are from Japan, but at CCC, about 1 track is filled with overseas speakers. For us Japanese, the language barrier is huge and it is difficult to fill most of the sessions in English, even for the participants.
And also before COVID, as we said, we have 2 conferences in a year, and the spring one, we tend to invite speakers from overseas. And the next CCC, which take place in June, would have more speakers from foreign countries.
I guess you also had a big impact because of COVID. Did you switch to virtual events or did you just stop for a while? What was the impact on your side?
Yeah, during the COVID, we switched to virtual events. We didn't stop having our events. So regular events were held continuously and we could have more people from various areas in Japan, which was a good point of COVID impact. But also we had some cons. For example, people got tired of attending many events virtually, and we tend to meet people in person. So getting together at the same place is kind of festival party. So it's just fun. After COVID was lasting for a while, our events got less people and
Less newcomers.
And that's the big point. One of the biggest problem was new people like freshmen even don't know we have such events. Yeah, if we get together at companies, somebody tells, "Hey, we have such this kind of event this week," or did you see this tweet? Or such conversation we always have, like same people. Yeah, which is also great, but to make communities flashier and gain more thoughts from various people, that's the hard thing of COVID.
That was also my experience. It's easier because everyone from all around the world is available virtually,
Right.
but you really miss getting together, having a drink, talking about something completely different, and then end up at a technical subject. Yeah, that's the thing that people are missing from these live events. Are you catching up again past COVID? But we should say that probably. But are you going back to live events and getting together? And are people coming back?
Actually, in Japan, we cannot say it's back to normal. People still with remote work and using masks, and many events are still online. Yeah, but from this year, we start backing to normal and have offline events. The next JJUG spring has offline rooms and offline sessions, and besides that, we are planning to have a conference staying Japanese style ryokan. It is called J Onsen. Yeah. We restart the J Onsen event.
And how many people join your JUGs in average?
For the night seminars, there are a couple of hundreds attendees, and for JJUG we have around 1,000 attendees in that event.
Yeah, there's a big conference indeed. What is the mix of visitors? Do you have a lot of young Java developers in Japan? I already have a few of them in here in the call. Is it a mixed community that you have? Young, old, male, female? We already had a bit of discussion about the female, but is there a lot of young blood?
I had some statistics about it. I see that over 95% of attendees are Japanese and mostly software developers. And there are not many business people or managers, and not many women either, like 10%. Once JJUG hadn't been popular among young people, but the number of young attendees started to grow around the time of Java 8 with Lambda expressions and Stream API. So now we have lots of young people and old people like us.
Are you looking at me for the older people? But you're right. As you mentioned, Java is evolving a lot, streams and all these new modern approaches in the language. Do you see some kind of trend of what is popular as a talk in your JUGs?
Of course, new features of new Java version are one of the most popular topics. We noticed that the Japan JUGs have interesting trends in Japan, to talk about design and architecture is quite popular, which means not how to write code or which is better coding or something like that, but what kind of architecture we have to choose or what kind of responsibility the code in this class has to have, or what kind of layered architecture is good. Yeah, topics like that are very popular. As we think at conferences in the United States or Europe, the way we code is talked about a lot. We don't have so many sessions about design, but design is the hot topic in Japan.
That's really the contrary of what I had heard in another JUG, where they really focus on technical evolutions in the Java language, which is also a hot topic now with all these fast releases. What some JUGs also do a lot is not really Java related, but developer life. Talk about agile principles and stuff like that. Are these popular?
Yeah, they are. Agile development, management things, and the specific ways like methods like Scrum, these stuffs are also very popular.
You already mentioned that you also have the conferences, that you're going back to live events. What are the plans for the next months and this year?
I've been thinking about doing something to get more overseas participants to Japan Java user groups, but the COVID stopped us. I want to talk about the conference event J Onsen. We are now planning the J Onsen event, conference event at Japanese ryokan style hotel with hot spring bed. We have a Tether website, jonsen.jp. This conference is English only event, and most attendees are from overseas. And I think listeners have interests this event, and I think they can join the J Onsen conference. So please remember the URL jonsen.jp.
Are there other topics that we didn't talk about that you want to discuss definitely?
We want to be in a world where the women's community is no longer needed. We want to close this community and women's developers join the JJUG or another overseas groups. So we together discussion and not afraid, not scary. So they want to pleasure and enjoy the community we want.
Yeah, that would indeed be ideal if we don't need separate women's group, but it's just a developer community and we all want to work together and be together and discuss together what we learned and what we want to learn and what all changes in these. Yeah, for me, I'm looking mainly at Java, but I know Maaya, you do several groups, but technology is evolving so fast that we have to keep coming together and share what we've learned.
Japan is a small Asian country, but I feel that the level of issues or technical difficulties or commitment to quality are at a high level. I want to have that recognized more outside of Japan. As to the CISA project I talked about earlier was a better framework than Spring project. But because it didn't adopt a global strategy, it wasn't recognized at all overseas, ended up closing. So I want to make JJUG more global in near future. So that's what I joined JJUG for.
Actually, that's what we try to do with this podcast. Connect other people with your Japan community. Are there any questions you want to ask our listeners and that they can contact you, for instance, to come speak at your event or where they can join?
Yeah, you can contact from Twitter, which account is JJUG, JJUG, or any of us. We can contact directly.
And I guess you're open to new speakers, new visitors, whoever wants to join your community is more than welcome, I guess.
And we have website javausers.jp. From the javausers.jp, you can find the event, nice seminar events and JJUG CCCs, and also J Onsen.
I'd like to ask one thing to listeners. Have you thought about taking part in events in Japan or Asian countries? If you have, I appreciate that. Or if you already have participated in events in Asian countries, oh yeah, that's super great, and we glad to know that. But if not, what is the cause? Is it because it's far, or you don't know many about such countries, or because of the language barrier or cultural difference? Yeah, which is I want to ask. And yeah, if we can find any reason, we are gonna try to remove that for the future.
That's a great message. Everyone who has a barrier to join, please inform you and you will try to get these barriers out of the way. That's a great message to conclude. Thank you for joining this podcast recording. Even if you were a bit afraid of using English, but my Japanese is way worse, so that would not have been an option to do. So thanks for joining the recording. For everyone listening, thanks for listening, of course, and keep an eye on Foojay for future articles about the development and everything related to the Java world. And let's see where the world tour of the JUGs leads us next month.
Give me a foo, give me a J, give me the friends of OpenJDK.